You are now checking out the Win Podcast, where the everyday people are the celebrities. So let's get to know them.
Hi, I'm Ben, and I had a wonderful conversation with Rick on the Wind podcast, and you should listen to it. Or don't, I don't, it's fine. I primarily, so the real to-do is I primarily teach in the New Jersey prison system.
And that's
Yeah.
what, like
Long-winded way when you just said, who are you? And be like, I'm Ben, and I teach in prisons, right?
and that was the when your mom shared that with me, you know, and I told you before we started shooting this, it was I saw the passion that you have through her eyes of what you do by teaching in the prison.
What did she say?
System.
Like, just...
She said he's fucking awesome.
That's Susan. That's Susan.
So she basically said, like, now that you take your time when it comes to preparing what you're going to teach, right?
Sure.
But I was like, okay, that's great. But she kind of went out her way to say that you truly, truly care when you are teaching in the prisons.
Sure.
You know, and the connection that you made. And she shared this one story that kind of touched me, right?
Okay. I'll let you know if it's true or not.
When you met Cornell West, and
I did meet Cornell West.
Right. So and
you mean Brother West?
Brother West,
Yeah.
Brother West, and I think they was trying to make you sit like with other people, or whatever, and you said no, I want to sit with my students.
Yeah.
And the students were, in their eyes, the incarcerated people. They was like, no, these are the inmates. It's like, but once she said that, I was like, wow, this guy really, he doesn't see them as
you can't.
inmates. He sees them as, these are my students,
Word.
and I don't want to be separated from them.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit with them.
Yeah.
And that to me spoke volumes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you could have easily been like, you know what, shit, I'm going to sit next to Brother West. Can I have an autograph too?
Dude,
you know,
let me tell you, man, that was meeting Cornell West, meeting Brother West was a trip. Like, do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah. We could go right into it.
All right.
Because what I want to get into right after that is what made you want to become a teacher. So maybe,
Well, what do you want to do? You're
know
running
what?
the show. You're running the show.
let's because that plays a part into later on. So let's
Yeah,
go
word.
from the beginning.
Okay.
What made you want to become a teacher?
I didn't.
you
I
did it with
100% did not want to be a teacher. 100%. I cannot stress this enough.
Really?
Nothing.
So there was like, I'm going to the library, I'm going to pretend in the room.
So here's the thing. I have always been bookish.
Yeah.
So, and nerdy, and I still am.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very proud of my nerdiness. I've always been, geek, nerd, all that stuff. And so... ready, and this goes to mom. This goes to my mother. I didn't want to go to college. I flat out 100% did not want to go to college. I wanted to go to a community college and fuck off with my friends because that's what everyone was doing. And high school was, I don't know. I mean, like I didn't have to work hard in high school. I got good grades. And what I see now is that like education and school and stuff like that, it came easy to me. Frankly, what came easy to me was reading, and that became everything. And then I didn't want to go to college. My where's the camera? I want to make sure I have this. My mother made me go to college.
Good.
Thanks, Mom. You were right. And no, seriously, like a lot of this stuff about being a teacher. It's fortuitous that like in this telling of the story that you know Susan, you know my mom, all this stuff, it's because of her. It's flat out 100% because of her. She was smarter than I was, and she knew it before I did, and she decided. I mean, it sounds terrible when you say she decided I was going to college, and I didn't want to go. She had it in her mind that I was going to go to Penn State, and we went looking at Penn State, and I did not give a shit at all. And I remember even like she was very much like, well, what do you want to do and this and stuff.
Yeah.
And she had it in her mind that I was going to be an engineer.
Right?
I fucking hate math.
There's no talk.
I shouldn't say I hate math, but
I hate math. I
don't. Math is necessary. Math is
No,
very
look,
good.
it's powerful.
I
but-
love math, but like my brain just doesn't quite
I'm
go
the
that
same
way.
way. That's the same
And
way.
I've always been that way. And like I even think about it now.
Yeah.
So she literally set up a meeting at this branch campus of Penn State where I ended up going with the head of the engineering department. And we drove out and we drove there and she was, and I had to meet with this guy and he goes, so why do you want to be an engineer? And I was like, I don't hate, he literally said, I don't hate math. And he goes, well, I don't think you should be an engineer. And I said, thank you for your time, you know? And, like that was the weekend, you know?
So how did the passion, I guess, start? Like where your mom was like, you're going to be the...
So this is,
I see the teacher in you, you don't...
Right. So this is the whole thing. So then the story goes, so I go to college and mom was right. College, that's where I should have been. Like I like going to class. I like learning. I like reading. It's one of those tough things as a teacher. It's like one of those things I can't teach my students. I can't teach them to be inquisitive. I can't teach them to desire and yearn for knowledge the way that I do. And again, by the way, it's the greatest piece of advice I ever got as a teacher. When I first started doing it, I was getting kind of frustrated with my students. And a dear friend and colleague said to me, he's like, he looked at me and he listened to me, as all good mentors do. He let me vent and rant, and he said, you have to understand, we are the anomalies. You cannot expect your students to be the type of student you are. And but that's the point, though. I was always that way.
Right.
And so when I go to college, I felt right at home, and I made some lifelong friends. As you can tell, I just saw my college roommate just a couple minutes ago, and I chose to be an English major early on, and my answer is usually I give people a quotation from William S. Burroughs. I chose to be an English major out of a lack of interest in any other subject. And while all of my friends were losing their shit over I have to do these math formulas and problems and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I got to do this in the lab, and I was like, I got to read a story. You know what I mean? And it just kind of suited me, and I just kind of went through college and I got a degree. And then you get the degree and you're like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And the thing I noticed, you know, even when you're in university and you're studying, you know, even afterwards, like everyone asks, you know, it's that big question, like, what's your major?
Yep.
And you say, for me, like, all the English majors out there represent. You tell someone you're an English major, they just automatically go, so you want to be a teacher. So you want to be a teacher. My mother, not one of those people, so you want to be a teacher, but just was always like, you want to be a teacher. And so for me, because I'm punk as fuck, I was always like, no, I'm not going to be a teacher. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm not going to do what just you think I'm going to do. And I resisted and fought this for a really long time. I really did. And, you know, after college, I went corporate. I got a job as a sales engineer at a telephony company that was within 2 months of me working there was acquired by Intel. So it's one of the craziest things in the world where I go, yeah. I tell my students I had a bachelor's degree in English, and my first job out of school was at Intel as an engineer.
Which you don't like math and
it's not that kind. It was a technical sales engineer.
Okay,
is technically what it was. But realistically, my students just go like, "How did that happen?" And you get to go, "It was the '90s. It was different, man. It was fine." But realistically, I got that job because they said, you know, I was floored when they offered it to me. I just was, I was looking for jobs in my field, in journalism or in editing, something like that. And I was just, you know, I was doing terrible on interviews because I was just like panicking, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So my mind was, okay, so if you're doing bad at interviews, just interview everywhere, and even the ones that you don't think you're going to get. And so one of them was this job I didn't think I was going to get, tech company, like they're not going to hire me. and they offered me the job. And I'll never forget, they brought me in for a second interview, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Whatever. And they passed me an offer letter. And I remember this was like, I was like, is Ashton Kutcher coming out here? Like, am I getting punked? And it was legit. It was real. And I said to them, I was like, I don't quite know this shit. And they said, you got a great attitude, kid. We'll teach you anything you need to know. And then for the first 3 months, I sat in a cubicle and I read books. Ready? What's my area of expertise? I can read. I can learn things. I can teach myself stuff. And I think this was like the start of it, and like things that my mother saw that I fought because people were roundly telling me what I should or should not do, or what I was supposed to do. And in that company, in that thing, I ended up being the trainer for anyone new that came in, because like I was the one who like, this is what you need to do. This is like, do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like I've always been a teacher of some point. And I fought it after, I did corporate for a while. After 9/11, tech companies started to tank, and my division was laid off left and right. I was asked to stay on, and I was moved from this technical sales engineering job to marketing. Oh, I hated it. I had detention for a year. I just sat in an office and no one, like, with no work to do. Oh, wow. And they'd be mad at me if I was late or anything like that. But I was like, just give me something to do, because they didn't think it through. And so at the end of that 1 year, they're like, we want to renew your contract. I said, please don't. Please let me go. And, I left. I got a severance package. I, collected unemployment. And it's my early 20s, and what are you doing when you're in your early 20s? I was at bars all the time. And so one of the things that was happening was like, I was like, well, if I'm here, I might as well kind of make money while I'm here. And through friends, and long story short, I became a bartender, and I was in the restaurant industry for a little over 10 years. And I waited tables. I was a drink slinger. Outside of working in restaurants, I did contracting work. I fixed houses. I was a pet nanny, a dog walker, a ditch digger. Like,
so you're basically doing, before you actually stepped foot to teach students. Yeah, you had all.
I told you I fought this. I fought
all these journeys that you're like, still not being a teacher. Nope. Bartender. You know, I'm gonna go into construction. Like, just
did that. Yeah.
Wow. So what was the moment that you finally let go and you said, you know what? I'm still not going to do what you guys are going to tell me to do, but let me just, I think I'll take a look at it.
I will preface this by saying this to all these servers and bartenders out there. It's a noble profession. God bless you. Keep doing what you're doing. But this is for me personally. I woke up one day. I was about to turn 30 years old, and I was working at a bar, fine dining type place. I had to wear a tie and everything. And I remember my memory of it. It was the Sopranos series finale. No, it was close to the season finale. And my day was always like, my Monday. I woke up. I opened the bar. My manager came in. Great guy. And he came in and we'd rap about Sopranos or Lost or some shit. And I'll never forget, like, I was just having like this existential crisis of like, I'm 30 years old and I'm cutting lemons and I'm a bartender. Like, this is not what I thought I'd be doing. Like, I had this crisis at 30, and he came in, and he was just like, he just went, Bobby Bacala is dead. Like, he just said, what? Oh, sorry, spoilers.
Spoilers from 10 years ago.
Yeah, no. Yeah. You should have seen it by now, right? And I just looked up at him and I said, I quit. Like, I can't fucking do this anymore. And so then it was like, okay. And so I remember I said I quit, and he's like, legit, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And then I said, like, I said, do you want the rest of the day or do you want 2 weeks? And he's like, could you give me 2 weeks? And I gave him 2 weeks, and then it was like, well, what the shit am I going to do now? And I was like, I guess I'll go back to school, right? Just like kind of everybody else. Like, guess I'll go back to school. What are you going to go back to school for? Well, I have a degree in English already, so I will get another degree in English because this is what I can market myself for. I'm dead serious. I went back to school to get a graduate degree in English, and still fighting it.
Still fighting it.
Did not want to be a teacher. I had no idea what I would do with the degree. I just like, I think at the time I was just like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was going on, and like I needed to do something and not what I was doing. And so I think in the back of my mind I was going back to school to kind of, just like kind of put the brakes on something, like, or bide my time, like to figure something, like while I figured stuff out. And I went back to school. I applied to a lot of places, and I was accepted at Rutgers and Rutgers Newark. And they had a master's program. It was a 2-year master's program. And I got the degree. And even then, like, I'm dead serious. I fought this. So, like, when I got the degree and I'm done, okay, so I need to get a job now because I'm done with school. And by the way, to all the people out there, I still bartended while I was in school. It's a great job for while you're a student. Advice to anybody who's in students. Great kind of job. Very flexible. You can make money and all that stuff. But I get done with the degree, and I literally, like, this might sound silly. I had no idea what you would do with a master's degree in English. And towards the end, some of my friends in grad school were talking about adjuncting, and I was like, I guess I should do this. And now keep in mind, I had never really taught a class before. I had done some work with a mentor, who I mentioned before, who I worked with as a grad student. I was a grader for him. It gave me like a couple extra $100. But again, like I didn't view it as I'm getting training for what I eventually am going to do. Right. I just looked at it as like it's work I can do, and I just need the money. So I started, after I graduated in Rutgers, I moved to Pittsburgh with my girlfriend at the time, and I couldn't find. And I was like, well, what do I do? And I was trying to find a job, and I eventually got an adjuncting gig at a university in Pittsburgh. And when I got there, I realized that I knew how to write a syllabus. I knew how to grade papers. I knew how to hold a class. I knew this stuff. But what I didn't know was how much I was going to fall in love with it. And this is like, it took me all the way up until that point to do what my mother knew when I was 16.
So now you know what I mean? You kind of like
she always, to be totally honest, like even in high school, my mom would have these, like, when your mom says something stupid and you're like, Mom, shut up. She's like, this, I just always see you, this is Susan, I just always see you as a teacher. Benjamin, you're going to be a great, and you're like, leave me alone. And it made me more like, I don't want to do this.
It's so funny because that reminds me of, like, people will know sometimes our journey before we see it. And then when we are on that journey, we're still fighting it because we're still trying to figure out something. But without us even knowing, the stuff that we're doing is preparing us. Because then when that aha moment clicks, you're like, oh, crap. I didn't know that all these steps right now build me up to where I need to be now.
Yeah.
So what made you want to start teaching in the prisons? How did you get into that? And then and also on top of that, what were you learning in the process of teaching?
So getting into prisons is how I started teaching in prisons is going to let me explain a little bit about how the current university system works in case you don't know. So I started teaching again, like realized that I loved it. This happened in Pittsburgh. I need to long story short, I left. Went through a pretty bad breakup in Pittsburgh, and had to come back. Was trying to find my way back to Jersey, and because I had, that's where home base was. Families in Jersey and all that stuff, and also I had contacts that could possibly, like at Rutgers, that could possibly help me get a job. So it's not easy to get work. That's one of the first things. And in English, what's fortunate about, in having an English degree is that every student in just about every university, as a freshman, there are classes that they have to take. They are gen ed classes, and typically 2 of them in particular are usually Comp 1 and Comp 2. And so since a whole freshman class has to take these, there's no shortage of teachers that they need, because also in a composition class, the class sizes need to be small. It's not like you can throw 200 in a room. You need like a class of like 15 to 20, right? So I found work at Rutgers as an adjunct. And now this is where the problem comes in. Adjuncting, like, there's no full time anymore, because what happens is I'm trying to explain this in a way. So or how about this? When you think of college professor, just by the way, I am not a professor. I am an instructor, I believe. Professor is a title. They want to diminish certain things here. So because when you think of someone who teaches at college, you think of a professor. You think of a full professor, a guy who wears tweed with elbow patches and things like that. And so the whole thing, so let me ask you a question. This full professor, how many classes a year do you think that full professor teaches?
How many classes?
How many
for a semester?
for a year?
For a year, 40.
40?
40. Yeah,
40.
because there's some
One teacher
teaching one course.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're doing it once a week.
No, not how many sessions, how many courses, not classes.
Okay.
Like how many classes are you teaching a year? Not like how many times are you showing up to the class?
Yeah, I'm like 40 times.
Yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ.
That's a high number.
Well, see, but this is what I'm saying. So you're saying about how many times you're meeting with them. I'm
Right.
saying like how many full blown, like in the spring you're teaching English 101 and
English 102 and
Do you know what I
all
mean?
that
How
stuff.
many do you think a full professor teaches a year?
More than 100.
Right? You still are not understanding.
No, I'm not.
Okay. So yeah, it's probably about 3 to 5.
With 3 to 5 that classes he's teaching.
Right, you're missing the point.
I am. I'm
of,
definitely in. It's
so
total.
when I'm saying
It's math.
right,
It's the math.
no, right. So the whole thing is, you're saying when I say class,
Yeah.
you think we mean that you're showing up.
Yeah.
Right. I'm saying class.
Because I'm like already. I feel like I'm in a position like I did go to class.
Right.
Like,
So did you go to college? Did you go to college?
Yes.
How many classes did you take per semester?
I took 5.
Right. You didn't say you took 105.
Yeah, it felt like
do you know what
even
I'm
those
saying?
5 classes
You see,
did feel
you counted the
yeah.
classes, not
Yeah.
how many times a week you.
Gotcha.
So how many of those classes do you think a full professor teaches a year? It's probably about 4.
Okay.
Right. Or actually, depending, it's 3 to 6, whatever.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's some people. It's like they'll teach 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, something like that. And salaries vary, but it's probably anywhere between $80,000 a year and up. They'll get health care. They'll get benefits. They'll get tenure.
Yeah.
Okay. Adjuncts. Okay. You don't get any health care. You don't get any benefits.
And you don't get paid now.
And no word. I'm dead serious.
Wow.
Right? And so here you think, and this is you want to jump into Brother West. When I met Brother West, he told me he was beautiful man, just by the way. Like I got a whole story about him. But he was saying that he was so busy. He just got back from sabbatical, and he was like, next semester I'm teaching something like, he says, I'm teaching 3 classes. And I said to Brother West, I said, you're adorable. I taught 19 last year. 19.
That's crazy.
Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, and this is what I mean. You're thinking of it that 40 or 50, that's 1. Multiply that by 19. That's what I had to do. Because I don't get paid a salary. I get paid by the class. Okay? And I never know what's going to happen. As an adjunct, you are exploited labor.
Freelancing.
And you're freelancing, yeah. And it's that open secret, because here's the thing. If you map it out, which model is more cost effective? I ain't going to lie. The adjunct one's more cost effective, right? But it's really, but my whole thing is, I don't believe that you can run a school like a corporation, right? Because I can't tell you how many good teachers I have met through the years that have quit. and gave it up because like everybody I know who's adjuncting will hit a wall at some point and say, I am too smart to work this hard for so little. And you push people out, and it's going to get to a point where teaching is going to be something that the leisure class does when they're bored. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is where I'm at. I'm adjuncting. I'm trying to make money. And I was living, you know, I went through the bad breakup, and I had to move in with my mother, which I wasn't happy about. You know, I was in my mid-30s, but I had nowhere else to go, and trying to rebuild. And my mother said that you can move in, but you have 1 year. Okay? Really smart. You know, smartest thing ever. Because by the end of that year, I was trying to get my shit together. I was teaching at Rutgers. Was living in Pennsylvania, teaching in New Jersey, and also still bartending on the weekends. And it was about the end of the year, and there was no way I was making enough money because, again, it was like everything was so contingent. I never knew what I was making semester to semester, because one semester I'll get 2 classes, and another semester I'll get 1. Another one I won't get any. I don't know. And my mom held her guns and said, we had an agreement, 1 year. And I said, like, when we argued about it, man, like we really, really fought about it. And, you know, was even like saying, well, what the hell you want me to do? And she was just like, you will figure it out. And like almost not quite saying I don't care, but just saying like you will figure it out. And within a week, I got all these extra classes. And so within a week of like I didn't know what to do, I didn't know where I was going. I was teaching at Rutgers. I had classes at Rutgers, Newark, and then within the week I had classes at NJIT, and then I had classes at Montclair State University. And this is a lot, man. It's a lot. And also, even and the other added thing, like as an English teacher, I don't have like little Scantron tests that I can run through a machine or go dot to dot. Not to diminish all my
but there's a lot of work.
Not to diminish all my brothers and sisters that teach math and sciences. I love and respect you guys so much and everything that you do. But like I have to like really read. You know, teaching a composition course, teaching an English course, it's very demanding. It's very, very time consuming. And, but like the whole thing is like, in the fall, classes are aplenty. In the spring, they lighten up a bit. In the summer, you're probably not going to get anything. So you got to like really, really kill yourself in the fall and save for those lean times of the spring and the drought of the summer. So I'm teaching all these classes, and strangely, it's a couple weeks into, it's got to be in October. Like it's deep into the semester at this point, and I get an email, who wants another class? And I said, I'll take it. And, you know, why did I get into prisons? Like, you know, my first day in a prison, you know, I meet my students, and it's literally the first question that someone asks me: why are you in here? Why do you want to be here? And ready, this is my answer: money. I came here because this is a job, and I need classes to live. I need to pay my bills. Like that's like, how did I get into it? That is the dead truth. There is no story about like, oh, I really looked for this. I really wanted to do this. I looked at it as financial. Yeah. And it didn't take me long again. Like I said, like when I was in Pittsburgh, I knew I was prepared. I knew I was going to do it, but I wasn't prepared of how much I was going to love it. The teaching in the prisons, I wasn't prepared of how much I was going to love it. To the point of I taught my first course that first semester. It's about 5 years ago. I've been doing it for 5 years. And that second semester, I was in the fall. In the spring, I was going to go in, and they said they didn't have a class for me. And I felt like, do you ever have one of those moments where I was on the phone, and someone gives you such bad news that you feel like the world is swallowing you? Like I had a panic attack. Like, what do you mean I can't go back in? Like, wow. Like this is what I want to do. And the director of the program at the time, like, heard like the kind of like sadness in my voice about it, and she found a way to get me into a different prison. So so I could keep doing it. But that's the answer of like it's flat out. And sorry for the long-windedness of it, but it's like there's a part of this where, you know, if you're doing this and people are listening, it's something that everybody should know. You're all paying for university.
Right.
It's expensive as hell. And any university out right now, 80% of the faculty is adjuncts. They are contingent. They are exploited. 80%. I mean, I might be exaggerating,
Right.
you know, depending on the university, but you know, this is what led me to it. That's flat out what led me to it.
So no, thank you for being honest, because you know we have to pay bills, right? So you're like, all right, I'm taking this job. I do love teaching, but I took this class because I need classes to pay my bills and stuff like that. So now I want to know how fulfilling was it? Where once you got the class, is good.
Yeah.
I'm teaching that. It's
Is
gonna
the
pay my bills.
first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How fulfilling was it now that like, whoa, I really love connecting with the students in these prisons and teaching them. And it's, you know, now it's not so much about the money per se, because you know, now you got the classes. Now it's like, now you're diving into it and really making a connection with them in there.
Like, I think that's another thing too. It's like, I feel like the whole, like, I've never even thought about it this way. I feel like the whole like theme of like every story was like this. I had no idea.
Right.
Like I had no idea what was happening. Like the passion for it, man, I don't know. Like it's really because I feel like you're working so much that you don't, or for me anyway, I'm working so much I don't realize it. I don't have that. I never had that moment where you stop and you go, man, I really love this.
Well, I would stop you there because you did. Because when you had that phone call and they was going to take that away from you.
That's true. No, that's really
true.
true.
They was going to take
No,
that
that's
away
true.
from you. It was like, whoa.
I do not. That's really true.
You was like, that's when it woke you up. I actually love these
true.
motherfuckers.
That was the moment. That really was the moment where I was like, I couldn't imagine not doing it. That's very true. Thank you.
And
for
another thing that I will point out too, I think that what amazes me that you don't look at them as inmates. You look at them as students, because and you're hearing this conversation and you think you're at a college or a high school or whatever, but you're actually in the prisons.
Yeah.
And for you in your eyes, you know, they're students. They're not inmates. They're human beings.
Well, that's
what made you want to think that, right? Because somebody else in your shoes will honestly take the gig, take the money, and be like, all right, listen up. I really don't give a fuck about you guys. And I'm just going to go through it, and that's it.
I know.
But you took it a step further.
Well, okay, so I see what you're saying. And I think that there's a lot to it. Like, to the point of, I've been doing this for a while, where like even when you say inmates, I hate that. I hate hearing it. It's so pejorative to me. I prefer I honestly I just always say my students, but I prefer incarcerated citizens. Because there's so much about saying inmate that is demeaning. The convict, things like that, they're demeaning. And you know, if I hope no one, I don't know if anyone's gonna say I'm being too overtly PC or anything like that.
No, I think it's something beautiful about it, because you're looking at them with compassion.
That's the whole point. Is when anyone says something about you're being overly PC, it's my answer is just always I don't know, man. Is it PC or is it having fucking manners? And that's how I was raised. And so I think that that's the first thing of even when you're just saying inmates versus students, it's just so foreign to me, because again, I'm a blue collar, I am an academic, I'm a nerd, but I have blue collar roots, and I'm here to do a job, and I'm here to do the best I can do, the best I can be, and all that stuff. And I have a contract with these men and women that are sitting in my room, and the unwritten contract is I can't determine what's going to happen, but I can promise you, I will make the guarantee that on the last day of class you will be better than on the first day. And whatever they will determine about what level or degree that is, but they will be better. And so if you go in with that, you have to start thinking about stuff. And this is the thing about teaching in prisons. With this, it's like there's a lot of people that say, you know, well, what do you do on the inside? Is it the same? Like, do you just do what you do on the outside, like a conventional classroom, and just do the same thing, just in a prison? And it's weird. It's like you start explaining to someone like what's curriculum, what are assignments and stuff like this. It sounds literally the same thing. And the thing here is what I've learned about in prisons. I've changed how I teach because of prisons. And it's not what I do on the outside I bring to the inside. What I do on the inside, I do on the outside now. And the first thing about it is you need to humanize people, and especially as an English teacher, they have to share their writing with me, and writing is private. And also there's no shortage of people who've been hurt by the red pen of an English teacher, and they go on and on afterwards saying, I'm just bad at this and I'm no good at it, and it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. People living their whole lives saying that they can't communicate, yet they do it all day long, right? So the first step of that, what I kind of figured out, is I have to think of them as my students. And here's the other part of it, right? They've all done something, I'm sure, because you're not there if you don't. But I don't get any dossiers or lists of shit that my students on the outside have done. And thank God they don't have one on me. It literally has no bearing on our relationship at all. They are students, and if you don't treat them that way, or I shouldn't say if you don't treat them that way, if you don't see it that way, you have no business being in a classroom. You are not going to succeed as well as you think you might succeed.
So what I love about this is is you have these two different worlds, right? And what have you learned from their world, where they're learning from your world as well? It's like you guys are teaching each other in a way, by you allowing yourself to be open and see them as students, human beings, is just treat right, just what you do with everybody, right? Because not a lot of people in those situations would do that.
But this is the whole point of, like, isn't this absurd?
Isn't this
absolutely absurd?
Absolutely.
Where it's like one of the things that you kind of have to say, like, what is prison pedagogy about? Like, if you really asked me, what's step one? Treat them like human beings,
right?
And you would say that is like. It's absurd that you have to say that.
Because in the society, they're not looked at that way. Oh, even homeless people. You can learn so much from homeless people in the street. You can learn from anyone around you, right? But in society, they put this thing that's like, no, unless you have a degree, you can't really learn from someone. But you go into the situation where two different worlds, and it's this beautiful thing where you guys are learning from each other. Is it challenging at times? Of course. In the beginning, it could be.
Oh, yeah.
So what did you learn by being in their world? Because you're going into their world now. And there's something that was probably there's something there that you probably learned from them. That was like a gift. It could be something as simple as like, I learned more about humbleness.
Oh, dude,
it wasn't even about a crazy story about murder or something, right? It could be something as simple as I learned more about humbleness, being in that
humility. You know, I mean, I think there's a lot that I've learned. There's a couple things I think about. All right, the men and women that I have worked with and do continue to work with, some of them. And keep in mind, I've been in men's prisons, women's prisons, and youth correctional facilities throughout the state. And I am dealing with men and women who've been incarcerated for 30 plus years. And I tell my students on the outside, when if they ask me about it, like, I always go like, man, like, they're my best students. Like, no bullshit. They were like, I kind of say it in a way to maybe motivate some of my, the 18-year-olds. Like, they're my best students. They run circles around the 18-year-olds. Like, it's pedagogical heaven where, you're coming into class and, like, before you're even settled, man, people are like, man, I got questions, and like I did this, like they read and then some, and they're all this stuff. And you know, my students on the outside are like, well, yeah, it's because they got time on their hands. That's all they have to do is time. And you know, here's a misconception about prison. Everybody in prison has a job. Everyone works. Okay, no one's just sitting around doing nothing. Everybody works. And people are, I mean, there are some that aren't working, of course, but for the most part, everybody in prison has a job, whether it's you know, being custodial staff or like you're, you know, an electrician or something even. But the students I have that I work with, this is what I've learned, right? They have been through and seen things and done things that I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. And they approach education with a fearlessness you would not believe, because they are not afraid of anything except for one thing: getting out and going back in. That is the only thing that they are afraid of. And if as a teacher you come in and you say, I've got something you need, I've got something you want that will make it less likely, right, that you will come back here, they will take every bit of information from you. And what I've learned, it's made me a better teacher, because there's never any phoning it in.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, not to say that I would ever phone it in.
Yeah.
But like, you have to be really prepared in a prison classroom, because they're all there to take every bit of knowledge, information, wisdom, everything from you. And like, what did I learn? Like, I have to over prepare a bit, and it's great. And I'm like, that's, and you know what I mean? Like, it makes you better and all that stuff.
It's funny because I remember when you just shared that your student was like, oh yeah, well, it's easy for them because they have nothing but time.
Yeah.
But what I would say to that is like, yeah, they have nothing but time, but it's what you do with that time.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Truth.
what you have the same amount of time that they have. What are you doing? You guys are in two different worlds.
Truth.
With the same time. What are you going to do now to apply with that time?
Yeah.
You could be easily in a room in your house and not do nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Just like you could be in a cell and not do nothing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, go ahead.
No.
So I just find that so, you know, it's like, when you look at it, yeah, there's a prison there that society made, but there's also a prison that we're in this world, you know, and the mind. So it's like two different prisons, but they're both doing the same exact thing to the human being.
Let me tell you something. Okay, you just said the exact. This is one of the hardest stories I've ever had about working in prison. So I'm at a youth correctional facility, and youth correctional facilities, they are tough. They are very, very tough. They are more difficult than a men's medium maximum security or a women's, and it's because they're babies, right? And they don't see the long game yet. And I had a student once, and he was really great. He was like really smart, really great, and you know, this was one of my first classes at a youth correctional facility, and you know, the class is almost done, and you know, I told him, I was like, man, keep up with this stuff, like, you're doing great. Like, I had like a minute with me and him one-on-one, and I was like, you're really smart, man, like, you can really do this. And I was like, when you start thinking about getting out, there's, you know, at the time it was in the works, this idea of like, you start taking classes while you're inside. When you get released, they'll fast track you in as a student on like a community college campus, or maybe even at Rutgers if you are in a bachelor's program. If you are still finishing an AA, they'll fast track you, or not fast track you, but they'll help you
There's opportunities.
navigate this stuff. And he looked at me and he said, Professor, he's like, I like you a lot and I've learned a lot from you. And he said, but I'm a gangbanger. And when I leave here, I'm going to be a gangbanger. And And I was like
Yeah.
I couldn't say anything. And he left, and I had a class immediately afterwards at the men's medium maximum security prison. And before I started class, like, I was like, God, man, this kid said to me, like, I can't tell you how much weight on me. Like, this whole drive, like, just like, what am I doing, right? And we sit down, and my students saw it, and they were like, hey, you all right, man? Is everything okay? And I was like, and they're getting ready for class, and I was like, we got to ask you something before we start. And I tell them the story, and I said, what can I say to him? Like, what would you do? Like, what can I say to this kid? And they said, nothing. You can't say nothing.
I disagree on that one.
Well, hold on. And because that was them, and they were like this, like, they were like, you got to learn on your own. He's like they said, like, there's no talking to me. And then they said, one guy, man, wisdom. He looked at me and he's like, there's 2 prisons. He said, one of these walls, the other one's up here. And he said, that child is stuck in a prison up here, and he doesn't see a way out, and he's not going to. Like, he needs to, or there's no magic that's gonna, like, he will see it eventually. But you can't force it. Do you know what I mean? And when you say, like, I disagree, like, you're right, you can tell him anything you want. But he's not going. Believe me, I tried.
No, I just no, I agree with you. I just felt like when they said that you couldn't say anything to him, the one thing my reply would be, yeah, you're a gangbanger, and when you leave here, you're a gangbanger because that is by choice. That's what you see yourself. Well, you can see, but here's my argument with that. Right, I grew up in a bad neighborhood, Brooklyn, East New York. I had drugs.
Sure.
I had gangbangers. I had a low income with my mom. I had good friends, bad friends. Sure. I was born into a society in that world where the drug dealers were high up, whatever. So what I'm trying to say is, I was born into that. What I choose to do with that is basically on me, right?
Truth.
I can make the bad wrongs, the wrong decisions, the right decisions, right? But if I just only saw myself, because also got to come within too. If you only see yourself as one thing, of course, that's all you're gonna see, and the people around you. But there are moments, right, that you're gonna meet people that will see more in you and say, I see you more. You was one of those people for him.
Yeah.
And even though he was around gangbangers all his life, you will always meet people around you that would see see something more in you and tell you you're more than that.
Yeah, but see, the thing that I see in this, though, which makes this difficult, because it's real easy for us to say, well, he can just choose not to. He can just choose not to.
No, I know it's tough. Once you're in it,
that's what I mean. Because the whole, like, listen to what he said. He said, I'm a gangbanger. I am. Right? And it's the same thing of, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not what he does, it's who he is. And now it's not like a choice, it's identity. Do you know what I mean? Like, in the same fashion of, like, if you are a Christian, are you just a Christian on the weekends? Or is it 365?
Right. But even still,
do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I see
like,
what you
that's
mean.
And that's the scary part of it. If you are seeing it as that, like, you're gang.
But in that situation, and no matter anything in life, you are whatever your mind is telling you, what you believe in. In that moment, yes, he's only gonna say, I'm a gangbanger, and it's tough. I'm gonna leave out of here. But at the end of the day, it's still your choice to be that. Just like there's choices if you still gonna be in that situation, and just like there's choices if you decide I'm gonna leave.
But, like,
there's options.
But isn't this the point of, like, bringing education into prisons? Because how many of these men and women, their life experiences told them that they shouldn't go to school. Their whole experience is that they can't do this. They shouldn't do this. And
No, but the difference to me,
I kind of forgot where I was,
but the
going with that.
difference for me in those situations, the difference for me, just because I'm using your story, and I love this, the back and forth.
This is always more exciting than me just going like, I'm a teacher.
Is that you're the proof. Whether you realize it or not, whether you downplay what you're doing with these people, like, I'm just a teacher or whatever, and I do care, right? You're more than that to them. Whether you realize that. You are a sign of hope. Hope in a way that I have this knowledge. I'm going to give it to you guys. Sure. And there's people, why do you think there's people, right, that are, give me more, Ben, give me more, Ben. It's you. You are making that happen the way you're presenting to them. I have teachers, Ben, that taught classes like, this is bullshit. This is whack. Mm-hmm. And then I had teachers like you that made a difference in my life. Miss Salatis, Mr. Bertolis, that when I didn't have a father figure, they said, I'll teach you guitar. You know what? I'll teach you certain things like that. I know. And they went far and beyond. And the way they presented the social studies and the English, it was like, wow, this is actually cool. Great.
See, I don't know. Like, I think for me, it's like, I don't feel like I'm going above and beyond.
You are, because so here's this. I can,
like, I know I work a lot. I know I put a lot into it.
Well, you said this, I feel like you sell yourself short and you don't give yourself credit.
What I mean is, like, I don't know any other way to do it. Like, I don't know how to.
I put it this way. I tell jokes on stage of my life.
Yeah.
I can give you the same script.
Okay.
People may not like the way you're doing it because
you're not. I'm fucking funny.
But here's the difference. You may not do it with passion. When I'm up there, I'm doing it with passion. I care. Yeah. They're like, oh, they did the same exact thing, but I'm fucking with Win. When Ben did it, I mean, it was good. It was all right. Now, give me the script of teaching of what you're doing. They were like, nah, I'm fucking with Ben. Nah. I'm fucking with Ben. The way Rick did it, and it's what you bring to it.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean,
at the end of the day, it's their choice whether how they see themselves. But you are a breath of fresh air. You are a light to them, and their darkness. You are a light to them, and I think like moving forward, what I feel, you are an inspiration to what you do. Because honestly, there's not a lot of people that do what you do.
See, but that's the whole point of like why, like, like, I can't wait to look back and see the video and like see my look on my face while you're saying all this stuff, because it's like you're saying all this stuff and it's like it doesn't compute to me. I don't understand how you half-ass teaching. Like, I don't understand.
I mean, I seen it with my own eyes.
Well, like, I mean,
and you too.
I guess I did. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like I had.
You had great perception.
I feel like I had great teachers,
and then you had shitty ones. You had some shitty ones, right?
I mean,
right?
Like, I guess.
But it's not true.
I guess I did.
It's the same as if when you go to a diner, man, they made that burger good. You go to another diner, man, that shit sucks.
No. I mean, see, all right. How about this? Let's take this down, just back, right? So I firmly believe this. They're one of the shittiest parts of this world are people who are just okay at their jobs. Like, they're okay. They show up, they're on time, and they do their job. But, like, I don't know. I feel like I have always... there's one thing I hate. I hate mediocrity. And I think that when you're guys like the people like, this guy does it better than that one, and it's like, it's not that guy sucks or he's awful, he's just okay at it. And I just don't, and then when you couple it with, like, if you're talking about education, school, like, this is important. Like, school to me is, I don't know, there was a lot about growing up for me where home was scary. And school was safe, and and also, I got that high, that reward of like I got good grades, and as you get older, you realize, man, I'm really ahead of the game here. Like, it's good to be intelligent. It's good to know what's happening. It's good to be aware. It's good to be able to read. And I don't just mean like left, right, top to bottom. Right. Like, to read a situation, to read a room, to read a human being, to read like the world. Like, especially like not to be too political or anything right now, but it's like one of the I teach at Rutgers University, and I teach in prisons and all over. Rutgers Newark in particular is it's one of the most diverse campuses in the country. It is the most diverse campus in the country, almost 20 years running, or something like that. And with the last election, I had students who were rightfully terrified of what's going to happen to them, what's going to happen to their families. Like, they're the children of immigrants, all that stuff. Like, people are roundly saying that they hate me and they don't even know me and all that stuff. And they look to me for answers, right? And as I did when I was a kid, I looked to teachers and asked them questions. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? And so I don't understand. It's one of those things that doesn't fucking compute to me.
Right.
When I have students that tell me about other classes where they just feel like they're not getting anything out of it. Or if the material is mundane, if the material is boring, or if they get the sense that their teacher's checked out or something like that. Like, I don't, and by the way, like, I hate talking about this. Right. I really hate this because I don't want to feel like I'm the best teacher in the world and everyone else is terrible.
You know what I think will happen?
Like that, I mean, honestly, like, when you start talking that way, that really makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, I don't like thinking about it in that way at all.
You know what I think will happen?
Because it's a hard job. Like, teaching is difficult, man.
I always appreciated teachers.
Sure.
And did I fuck around? Yes, I did fuck around.
Yeah.
But the teachers
Everybody does.
but the teachers that were so passionate, it just connected to me, right? You have the teachers that, whatever, just doing this for money, and that's whatever. And then there's a great group, just like in anything. There's comedians that do it for money, and there's comedians that, the money's good, but I fucking love this when I'm on the stage. And there's a big difference of passion. And when you actually care what you're teaching and care what's in front of you, it comes out different.
Oh, yeah,
and
man.
it resonates different to the students. And I always appreciated the teachers. And I think what happened was the world sometimes underplayed or didn't give, like, they just downplayed what a teacher can actually do to change the students' minds or feed them.
Yeah, man.
Where our parents was once our teachers. They taught us how to walk and all that stuff. We have many teachers in many different ways, but what society does, which is a fucking annoying at times, let's glorify this fucking shitty thing, whatever that is, but this person is making a difference? Not really, not so much.
Well,
I just think the appreciation for the teacher.
It's America, man.
It's just crazy for me. It's like, it should always be up there, the appreciation of the teacher and what they can do.
I know what you mean. It's like, I feel like I definitely, like, it's weird. I've definitely had those moments, especially at the height of my adjuncting, where it's like, killing myself. Like, I had a micro stroke before I was 40. From just working too much. Like, I had to constantly say yes to things, and working 80 hours a week. I didn't have a day off for a year and a half, and I had those moments of like, how did I pick the wrong time to be a teacher? Like, when did all of a sudden this become the, like, yeah, who gives a shit about you? And it's and here's. And you've been saying this the whole time of, like, passionate, and, like, people who are passionate about, and it's like, what does that mean? I'm trying. The whole time I've been trying to think about this. Like, what does that mean? I'm passionate about it. Like, I like my job, or that I want my students to do well. Like, I think every teacher wants that. But I think that, like, what I've been trying to get in my head is, like, well, what does passionate mean? Like, and why is there a decline in sort of the reverence for education? And it's in that little cell phone that's in your hand, right? We all have the world's information at our fingertips. And why do I need to school? Because anything I need to know, it's right there, right? I don't need, there's no necessity to know things. And that's the problem. We think that education, and also, sorry, No Child Left Behind left every child behind. You made education all about taking tests. So now at least 2 generations of kids right now view this is what school is. You give me something to read, I memorize it, I repeat it back to you, I immediately forget it. And they look at everything as just content knowledge, right? students, they come to me, freshmen in college or even in a prison, right? I look at them and I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you know. I'm smart. I went to college twice. I know more than you. You're not going to dazzle me. And I don't care what you know. I care what you understand. And that's the difference. And if you want to like say, well, what's passionate in teaching? It's like, I don't just want my students to know things. I want them to understand things. And that's like, maybe that's the answer. They're like, I really try to like, ready. How do you get someone to do that? How do you like, you know what I mean? You have that conversation, you have that discussion, you have the assignments that are designed to really think about this. Give me more. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to understand
also,
this.
I think I understand it. I think a big part too, whether really realize it or not, there's a lot of care that goes into it. That human care, that I care enough that I want you guys to understand and know. There's not a lot of that. There's not a lot of that, though.
See,
for many reasons. Many reasons.
Well, no, I mean, I think one of the first reasons is like I've definitely have been around colleagues where it's like, especially if you're in the adjuncting game or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like you're literally not paying me enough to kill myself like this. For me, I think that like getting, teaching so much, teaching so many classes. I would have done this in some fashion otherwise, but it became like the mother of invention for this. It's like I need to teach 8 classes in the fall, right? Something like that, right? I think right now I have 7, way too much. But in order to be able to teach that many classes, you need to prep, and right before the semester starts, you need to know everything that's going to happen. You need to have your LMS set up. That's like Blackboard or Moodle or something like that. You need to have it set up. You need to have your assignment sheet set up. You need to have your lesson plans. Like, there's no doing it as you go, because you need to be like, because as you go, you need to kind of. And so, do you know what I mean? I think in that regard, like I do take so much time in prepping and planning.
If I would take away the money, if I would take away,
please don't do that.
If I would take,
I don't like this.
No. If I would take away the money, I would take away all the bullshit that goes with it, right? And I would tell you, or someone will come up to you, say, "Hey Ben, once a week I have a classroom with kids that really want to learn, English or something you're passionate about. It's gonna be for free, but they're always gonna be there. They're hungry every Thursdays at whenever you're free at 6 p.m." Would you be down to do it?
So in this thought experiment, I don't have number one, do I have free time?
Yeah, you have free time.
I have free time.
Your bills are paid.
Okay.
But it's just like, hey man, every Thursday, I have these group of kids they're eager, man. I think would you be down to teach them every Thursday at 6 p.m.?
The whole thing here is right. You already know my answer.
I don't know it.
It's without a question, yes. But like I can't wait to say yes, and you go great because this Thursday I've got a class that's starting. The kids are gonna love you.
No, but what my point with that is, at the end of the day, that's the biggest difference that you make, right? Let's cipher into that a little bit.
Because here's the thing, it's like it's the same thing of that kid who said, I'm a gangbanger, right? It took that first long-winded way of me saying, like, I fought being a teacher. What did my mother know before I did? It's not what I do, it's who I am.
Right.
I'm a teacher. I am. Like, it's not my job.
But here I am in this.
Because any job I've had, when I was, when I was working corporate, I trained people, right? When I was a bartender, oh my God, my favorite thing in the world was like people like, you want to be a bartender? Should I go to bartending school? No, it's a scam. I can teach you how to bartend in 20 minutes.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
But with this thought experience, what I learned from it is that where your heart's at. And when it comes down to it, whether you just see yourself, man, I'm just doing what I have to do. I know I make a difference, but I don't want to think about that. I'm a teacher, right?
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, what I learned from it, right, is that even if I took the money away from it, you have to spare time. I painted this world for you, and I told you there's gonna be students there every Thursday. You said, without a doubt,
it's without a doubt.
I want to do it, and that's what makes you different, and maybe similar to other people that have that same drive, right? That's what separates you from the rest.
Yeah,
is that I took everything away from you. I said, and you could teach whatever you want. Ben, would you do it every day?
Yes.
I mean, every Thursday or whatever, 6 p.m. Your
Absolutely.
time. You said,
100%.
yeah.
Classroom
And when you
is
take
where
when you take
I
all
feel
the
very comfortable in the
bullshit
classroom.
away from
Yeah.
the world that makes it difficult at times,
Yeah.
your heart is still in the right place where you want to
It's
teach.
true.
You want
yeah.
to make this connection.
Oh.
And that's not that story. There's not a lot of people doing that story or hearing that story.
But isn't like I don't
That's
know.
what-
This is where I get like I know I turn like naive and stuff like that. But isn't there like it's like I don't know like
No, because I will be honest. I'm only basing it on my experience and out of all the teachers that I had in my life, right? Let's just say in high school, six that stands out. That were like you, right? That I allowed, and this probably was a lot of employees.
yeah. I mean I did.
But I'm just saying, and
but like Reddy's that's a lot. Like Reddy,
a
that's
teacher,
that's a lot.
it is a lot.
You know what I mean?
It
Like
is a lot.
I mean, like I got kids coming in at 18. I have men and women who dropped out and like had got GEDs and shit like that. Like they're at 0.
Right.
You know,
But
you're
now
saying-
that was at the time where I was going. Now there's probably less. I'm saying that these kids are actually allowing themselves to connect to these teachers, or teachers allowing themselves to connect to the students. Has been a decline on that, and it's refreshing to meet people like you that actually care what
Yeah.
they do.
But like, see, this is what I mean.
Because it's
Like-
not-
like. Am I being wrong for being so incredulous? Where you're like this? It's nice to meet someone for a change who cares.
Yeah, because
Like
it's,
that is fucked up.
because we don't live in a world that a lot of people are compassionate.
I live in that world. Like,
Now-
do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
There's- I met a lot of great people. Yes. Do I know a lot of
like
great
that's
people?
that's
Yes.
all right. How about this?
But-
I'll explain. One of I just
Perfect example.
I really I want to resist being an anomaly in this. I want to I want to
What do you look at this world?
I want to believe this world is as it should be. When it comes to this, you know what I mean? And in that regard, like it's you know, one of my favorite expressions is act as if the world is as it should be, so you can show it what it can be. And like I don't know, like
It's
man,
not.
I
though.
just
It's,
I know.
It's
I
not
just
because I'm using my own eyes. I will be in a train station and I see
Like-
pregnant women coming in and no one's
Like-
offered them a seat. That's something that should be taught, right?
Now, right.
The homeless person, whatever. There's a lot of them, but I'm saying that
Sure,
just the
sure, sure.
compassion of actually going to them, giving them a hand, giving them $1, whatever it is. There's not a lot of that. You're not.
I know the world's fucked up. I know it's mean. I know it's
Right.
cruel. I know it's rotten. Lord knows I
Right.
know all this
And
stuff.
there's also another side that is very great because
But-
meeting people like you
but I
and
like
I or whoever.
right.
there's-
I know in this regard when we're talking about school and education, I'm insulated. I am absolutely insulated. Where I am just around my colleagues at all the universities I work at. They are like me. They are. Maybe not all of them,
Yeah.
but I know the majority of the ones that I hang out with, they are like me. And that's when I start, and believe me, I know that there's shitty teachers out there. I know it
Yeah.
because I see what they produce. And, you know, I get to a point where it's like, I don't think that I'm the greatest English teacher in the world. I'm just very good in a world full of mediocrity. Do you know what I mean? Or in where people are just okay at their jobs. And then we get to, well, what created this, right? You can't help it at a certain point. Like, you're going to break. You're going to say, why should I kill myself for this? Why should I? Like, I'm dead serious. Like, this job almost killed me. I had a micro stroke before the age of 40 because I was working so much. And, you know, I'm very much you've met my mother, you've met Susan, right? You are your role models. My mother, what did I learn? Work, 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 work. Make work your favorite. And I just don't know any other way to do this. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at saying no to things. I'm getting better at saying, like, I cannot answer any emails on the weekend. But I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't check. And I'd be lying to you if I said I checked and someone wrote me and I didn't write back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to do this. And it blows my mind. Like, I can't think of how people don't do it or how they do it any other way.
Right.
You know?
No, I'm glad you put it that way too, because you gotta, putting myself in your shoes, I can see what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And what's the point that you're making. Look, I'm doing what I'm doing. This is what I enjoy doing, and this is also what I was taught, and a lot of other stuff that I learned as well. But I don't know anything else. Like,
yeah, that's what
I don't
know.
Say.
Like, I don't get it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you could teach me to be a shitty teacher, but I don't want to be that. But I'm not gonna follow that. I'm still.
We can teach you to be a bad comic.
Right.
Get
exactly.
up on stage, say "Get her done."
Yeah.
You know
right.
what I mean?
But you're like, no, this is not me, and I don't know anything else. So, but one thing I do want to make aware by the end of this thing, whether you realize it or not, I feel you do sell yourself short.
Sure.
And I do feel you don't give yourself enough credit that the work that you do, not the work, I was in like, yeah, I'm organized. The work and the difference that you make in these kids' lives, students' lives.
I mean, I know.
You
Like,
see it,
like
but it's not
like
about
it's
not being egotistical.
It's one of those
or,
things that makes me feel uncomfortable. It really does. Like, can you tell? And
I can tell. I can tell, and I just feel like you should embrace it, because at the end of the day, whether you realize it or not, it's a gift. What you are doing, the changes that you are doing within yourself, and learning from them as well, these students, it is a gift.
Sure.
And it is a beautiful gift. When you take everything away, it's something that is a beautiful connection.
Dude.
And that should be, I'm going to applaud you, whether you like it or not, because...
Louder.
Because there really isn't, and I'm going to repeat it, it's like when you see something that's right, or you see something that you can't get enough of, you want to keep those things close.
Sure.
And I feel those students that you have touched want to keep you close.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's a reason for that.
Well,
and I think,
I know,
give yourself more credit.
And
you are making a beautiful difference, and I thank you for doing that, because there's people like you. I take the title teacher off for now. There's human beings like you that, when they care, it makes a total difference in a person's lives. Because when you take the title of teacher away from Mr. Bartoldis and Miss Salatis, they fucking cared. And that, to me, meant the world to me.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little emotional, but they're teachers. We put the title on them. But at the end of the day, they was human beings that care for students. Or another human being, another child. Just to be like, I believe in you. You can do more. You are in this environment, but you're more than this environment.
Oh, yeah.
Mothers, fathers, other people, friends. That is a beautiful trait that we're losing. So when you meet people like you, doing what you're doing, you take the title of teacher away.
Yeah.
But you just keep it simple. It's like, I care enough to be a friend. I care enough to hear you. It's a beautiful thing.
I know.
Should not be taken for granted.
I mean, I have no shortage of stories where, I told you, like I don't know anybody doing teaching that doesn't hit a wall at one point and say, like, man, I gotta get out of this. And it always seems, every time I'm about to say that, or I do say it, I get a letter, I get an email, I get some sort of correspondence, and it just reaffirms, and it's always like, it's weird how they just always know. Like, they don't know, but it's like, it comes to you at those moments. Like, I was teaching and, I was thinking of, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm exhausted. And you know what I mean? And it's like, you start going like this, I'm too smart to be this broke, you know, when you start getting older and you go, I'm never going to own a house. You know, stuff like that. I mean, like that's I mean, that's out of that's not even an option for like anybody anymore. But like it's true.
Yeah. It's
and right.
Yeah.
Represent. Right? And the whole thing here, like I remember like I was going to quit. Or not, you know, not like how I quit the bar, like I'm done.
You heard about Tony
like,
Bacalao.
Right, I quit, right? But I was gonna finish out the semester and see what else I was gonna do, and I got a letter from a student inside, and still have it. I have some bunch of them, and he was just, it was 2 pages, like front and back, nothing fancy, and he was just like, "Thank you so much for the work you're doing. You have no idea what this means, and how much you've changed, not my life, but everyone else's lives here." And, you know, excuse me, I have no shortage of stuff like that. I'll be totally honest. I mean, I always get to the thing that makes, there's tons of stuff that happens throughout a given day that makes me like tear up.
Yeah, I think you should always read those letters.
Whenever. Always.
Honestly, like whenever, when things get tough and the bullshit hits, you know, just like in any
I do.
Read those letters, because as simple as like when I perform these shows and the amount of love that I get, that man, listening to your story, I related and it helped me.
Yeah.
And always.
Yeah.
It always overcomes all the bullshit that it took to actually write this story and then to put it on the stage.
Yeah.
It's like, one, I learned from it, and two, man, it's a blessing just to know that it helped others as well.
Absolutely.
Not only did you laugh, but you think. Not only they're entering your class to learn, but they're leaving fulfilled in other areas of their life that you don't know that you touch until they open up like, you know what? It was more. What you did is you would never know how much it touched me.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, for me, like, one of the ones that comes up is, like, you know, when I get letters from students or they tell me at the end, like, the thing that always, and it happens enough, like, when students write to me and they say thank you. And they say, I really learned what it means to read from you. Like, because that's the thing I push. Like, you got to... Right, you're gonna be doing this the rest of your life. You're gonna be reading the rest of your life. You might as well know how. And they like that's the one that that'll make me tear up. Like something that simple will make me tear up, because I know that student, they're prepared, right? They're prepared for whatever's gonna come to them afterwards, and they will I don't need to decide for them. They will make their own decisions. But if they able to get the information, if they're able to understand it, they can make the right decision for themselves. Like that to me is the most freeing thing. Like being able to choose on your own. Just like this is all coming full circle to like what we get down to, like, you know, that one student who like broke my heart. Like he has an identity, but there are choices involved, right? I can't decide for him or anybody. Yeah. But if you kind of show them, like, if you train them enough to be like, you know, when you start looking at, like, you know, the world that you came from with the gangbangers and the, you know, good friends, bad friends, to be able to look at it all, take a step back and go, I don't know if this is right. Maybe there's a better way. You know, maybe there's a different way I can do this. You know what I mean? That's victory. Yeah. You know?
I think, too, we're going to go into other segments now, but... Change the battery. All right. But I think
finish that thought.
Yeah. I think you should probably you know, like speak. I think letters are so important, and I think maybe one day, if you decide to, you should write a letter to yourself. Think about that.
I didn't realize I was sitting with my therapist. Thank you. Oh shit, I didn't think about that.
Should write a letter to
Dear
yourself.
Ben.
Think about it. Yeah.
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
I help me. Listen.
Listen.
It helped me realize a lot.
I'm being a jerk.
Yeah.
I'm being a jerk.
No, but it helped me realize a lot.
Like,
you know.
You know.
It did. I mean, rewriting my life on
I do
stage.
that stuff with my therapist and shit like that. Like I do that stuff too. Okay. But like, you know, trust me, man. Like, been doing it.
Okay.
Here and there, not as much as I should. Didn't finish the letter. Started.
I know. I've been there. I had to write a letter to my mom, and it shit took a lot of. My spiritual teacher told me to do that. That was one of the first lessons that I had to learn, was to write a letter to my mom, take responsibility, and fix that relationship. and it took me a while.
I believe it, bro. I believe it.
And I'm glad I did it. And then when I did these shows, it was like literally letters to myself as in writing.
Yeah,
and
no,
it's
no,
like,
yeah.
it's tough. So I could get the owner off. But I didn't mean that in all the way. I'm just like, by writing this letter to yourself, I feel, I don't know, that you will realize a lot. Just like me sitting down writing a show of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I learned so much. Sometimes we oversee things or don't see things.
The
That's
stuff,
just me.
the stuff that you're doing, is it stand up or is it more
It's
like?
it's stand up, it's music, it's a one man show, it's experience.
Okay.
Now that you shared, and we had this deep and awesome conversation, this back and forth, which I love.
Love you.
Love you too. And I this is one of the first podcasts, right, that I experienced that, like, not, I wouldn't say agree to disagree. It's understanding both sides and understanding both sides, right? And which I loved about it.
Yeah.
And so now we got to know you. I got to know you, and whoever's watching got to know you too. But I got to know you more. And now we're gonna move over to these different segments of the podcast. And the first one is called Peekable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first question part of Peekable is, what do you hide from the world?
What do I hide from the world?
It could be.
Oh,
I use
shit.
I use an example because sometimes people's like, "What the fuck?" I'm not
Yeah,
asking
man.
For the, I'm not.
I don't know,
I'm not
like-
asking for the darkest secret. So what I hide from the world, for me, I always use. I hide my pain from the world. No one
shit.
would know what I'm going through until I reveal into a show, whatever. Like, oh shit, you went through that. So I hide my pain from the world. So what do you hide from the world?
I mean, I was gonna say. I mean, like, is it bad to steal your answer?
Well, no, I
you
just
know-
elaborated more. Just
I hide. You hide tons of things. I guess for the. I think that by nature I'm a private person, but I have chosen a profession where I am open. And this is kind of one of those things that's like constantly at odds. Like, just as an example, like my first day of class, every class I kind of start the same way. I take attendance, I get everyone's name, and then I say, ask me anything, go. And, really put myself out there. I think that but like, you know what I mean? Like, I am broken just like everybody else is, you know? But like, you know what I mean? I don't have the, see, when we start saying like, I hide my pain, it's like, who would I, like, there's very few people that I would even share it with. I shouldn't say very few. I'm very fortunate to have, wonderful family and,
But even
good
still,
friends
you're
and
not
things
all
like that.
out there tweeting,
See,
Instagram, or vocally.
I think one of the things about this is like what I would throw back to you is like you hide your pain, and my question then is like, well, doesn't everybody? And so the question is like, well, what is your pain? Like, name your pain. What's the thing that you hide? Like, so if it's going to be, what do I hide from the world? It's that I am, and again, I'm sure there's people that know me out there will be like, you're not doing a good job of hiding this.
Yeah.
But it's like, I am a supremely insecure person. You know what I mean? Deep in the core, like my formidable stuff. I have, I'm older and I'm better, and I have overcome quite a bit. But my formidable years, and it's not something that you shake. I am someone that I have a tendency to go through stuff, and my initial reaction to things is, I'm the worst person alive. I'm the worst person. This is the thing that I hide, and thank you so much for letting me share that with everybody. I'm being very sarcastic right now. Thank you so much.
No, but I want to thank you for sharing that, because on this podcast, a lot of people have shared certain things and they have been open. And for me, I think everyone battles insecurities, and you know what I'm saying, and it's always tough. No, but for you to take that step and be like, I'll just be vocal right now. I'm like, I have my insecurities.
I do. I mean, like, I'm good. I mean, you mentioned, like, write that letter to therapist. Like, I've been in therapy since I was, I feel like I even started therapy late. Like, I came to a therapist when I was 35, and it's changed my life. And, I can name my pain. And I one of the toughest things about being in therapy is, well, it's scary and really requires honesty. And then when it comes out, of like, okay, I'm going to admit the problem that I have, and you're with a healthcare professional, you're with a doctor or what have you, and you go, okay, I admit it, fine. And you go, how do we get rid of it? And then they say, you don't get rid of it. You got to live with it. and you got to work with it. And so that's the you know what I mean. I think through therapy, I am saying it very publicly. Like, what is the thing that I hide? I hide that I go through some days, not all the time, of course, but like in my baser moments, I have those moments where I go, I've let everybody down. I'm the worst person ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, I'm good with it now. Like like I know my triggers and I know when it's gonna happen, and then you go, just shut the fuck up.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Or like work with it. So did that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Okay. Next question. Let's
what
keep going.
do you show the world?
What do I show the world? What kind of stuff did you get for this? Like, what have other people said? Just curious.
Some people say I show my happiness. I show.
Oh, like so you want an emotional answer?
Well,
or
no,
something
not
like that,
no.
like-
It's whatever you make it. Some people say. Someone said. I show my geekiness.
Oh, God.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I
proudly wear that shit,
So,
man.
like, those are some things. But what
Like,
do you show the world?
I don't like again, like lots of stuff. You know what I mean?
Pick one.
I show a lot. Thanks. That's what I tell my students all the time. I tell them all the time. If there's so many things, why can't you tell me just one? I think that one of the things that I do show the world is I love music. I'm a musician and I love heavy metal. I love scary fucking death metal. And this is it's very soothing to me. It's very relaxing. It's very comforting. I like it a lot. And it's one of those things that I can't hide. And if there's anything that like I think I routine like, and it's like one of those things like I can't help it.
Right.
Like it's who I am. Like it's not uncommon for me. Like I sign off all my classes. I end them all the same way. You know, everybody, any questions? No? Okay. Rock on. Heavy metal rules. I love you. See you next week. Do you know what I mean? Like it's literally how I end most of my classes. So yes,
Nice.
my metalness.
So, thank you for sharing that. The next segment is basically if you would die tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this, dude?
Yep. If you would die tomorrow at 3 p.m., what will you try to accomplish? Do not worry about the details of like, I can't do that because it's physically impossible. It will happen. So if you would die tomorrow at 3 p.m., what you would try to accomplish?
Why 3 p.m. in this thought
I don't know. I
experiment?
just make it. I just thought it was just. I don't know. It just came out at 3 p.m. Like you knew exactly. Like exactly.
Okay.
when you was
So it's not like you're gonna die tomorrow, and I'm like,
You
when?
are dying tomorrow at
No,
3
but
p.m.
like this. I mean, like
Yeah.
so someone goes, well, when?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So 3 p.m. What would I try and get done?
Yeah, anything. I heard a lot. Once you answer, I heard a lot of different variations of this question.
Okay, so I mean, all right. So there's a couple things. Like, is it literally tomorrow, or is it
Tomorrow at 3 p.m.
like
If you walk in and get a
but like-
coffee at 2:58
but like-
and you
but like-
2:58
but
and
if
you
it's
come
like
out at
so
3
it's like well then it's like well I'm gonna go to work.
You don't have to. Who said you have to?
I have an ethical obligation to my students to show. No, so
But
I mean,
let's say
no,
you
no.
say, look, I teach you from a little bit, and then I'm gonna go
So
do this.
I mean, you know, let's indulge in the hypothetical and say that there's no work. Okay, like
I just asked a question. What do you want
I'm just asking questions. So I don't know. I really think that when you put this on me, like there's a bit of well, what would I do? My initial reaction is whatever I wanted. Whatever I wanted, and if I don't think that I'm just not that way of where I was like I have like bucket list stuff like I don't have that like I don't know that seems kind of I have more. Do you know what the opposite? Have you ever heard this one? Do you know what the opposite of the bucket list is?
What?
It's the fuck it list.
The fuck it list.
It's the things that do you want to do that? Nah, fuck it. Don't want to do that. I have more things that I'm perfectly content to live my whole life without doing versus things I must do before and this is like, I don't know, this is fucking weird questions, man. I would just do whatever I wanted at that moment. Like, and if that meant I wanted to lay in bed and not do anything, I would lay in bed.
Simple.
If it
There you
meant
go.
that,
That's
like,
your
I
answer.
wanted to... Oh, actually, no, one of the things I would... Oh, absolutely 100%. I'd probably make some calls and, like, talk to, some people,
Yeah.
some friends or whatever. Like, I would definitely like I would definitely hang out with my cat. I do know that for a fact. He is my best friend. He's the greatest person I've ever met.
Nice.
I love him more than anything else. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
that's
You know what I
simple.
mean?
You
Like,
answered it.
yeah.
I honestly, sometimes we make things more complicated than what
Yeah,
they
no,
are.
that's what I mean.
It's
It's
just
like, I
it's
feel like-
simple. I had someone says,
I feel like I would be
I'll
really,
go-
I would be really
yeah.
simple about it.
I
Like,
just want to hang out with my family, and
Yeah,
then
word,
and then
you know?
I'll just take
But
a
like-
drive by
but like-
myself in the car, listen to music, and I'm done.
oh yeah, dude.
So you
know
see-
what I mean?
so someone
no,
just-
like I'd
and
be
I was
like,
like, wow,
oh
it's
man, I
dope.
want to listen to like, you know, I want to put on like a Stones album or something like that. You know, I want to listen to OK Computer like
That's great.
One Last Time or something like that. But yeah, I don't. I really just like I don't have any sort of like. I don't know. This is a strange goddamn question.
You answered it.
All right, fine. The next question. Next, move on.
The next segment is called "Words from My Spiritual Teacher, Guru Enlightenment."
Your spiritual teacher's name is Guru
Yes,
Enlightenment.
Guru Enlightenment. She's a spiritual teacher of mine. She teaches spirituality, which is to believe in yourself, and to know that we are born with many gifts and you have a purpose in life, and do not sell yourself short. So she helped me with my life. Basically, she's like the Oracle from the Matrix. She knows everything about you. She has many gifts, and
she has
knows everything.
candy.
And she has candy. No, actually, she does have candy.
She does actually.
She does
That's
have
great.
So-
I just rewatched The Matrix not that long ago. They're not that great.
I love the first one.
Notice what you said. The first one.
Okay. So first one, we'll agree on that one.
Second,
So she has helped me with my life and made me realize certain things about myself. And she's an amazing woman. She teaches workshops and one-on-one sessions for free. And I always tell my friends, go check it out for yourself. So in this segment, it's basically to showcase some of her writing that she writes on Facebook and her book and stuff like that. And I'm going to share a passage from her book, which is called Guide to Finding Answers Within the Unknown. This is from chapter 4, and it goes, and of course, there's always in the description where you can reach out and find her. And this one is from chapter 4, and it goes, when you get into a relationship, it should not be about someone making you happy. We need to learn how to make ourselves happy. We, as human beings, need to acknowledge ourselves first. When we look for someone to make us feel special, we are depending on another human being. We have to learn how to acknowledge ourselves. We need to know that we are worth a great deal. Now, hearing that, how do you feel about it?
It's nice.
Cool. For me,
Like, you know what I mean?
No,
it's a very nice sentiment.
what I get from it, from my life, I remember in the beginning, especially my first relationship, I always depended on that person to like show me who I am, or I always depended on so many different things. And I think for me, I kind of like got lost into who I was. So reading this and then thinking about her lessons, that what she taught me, you allow someone else to build you up rather than you build yourself up. You allow many other people build you up.
Yeah.
So when I hear that, it brings me back to that, where, you know, being lost, insecure, and then eventually taking my power back and not allowing someone to define me.
Absolutely.
And
oh my God.
once I started doing that, the most important relationship that I fixed and what I worked on was within myself.
Without a doubt, 100%.
So when I started really doing that, I got to know who and what I am, and really like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't like doing that.
No,
actually, I love doing that.
Yeah.
I want to do that. And so that resonates to me when I hear that. It brings me back to those times where everybody else was defining who I am.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
What I've been talking about this whole time. Like, you know what I mean? It's been a journey. You know, again, like, what do I think about it? It's nice. It's Guru Enlightenment is correct. Like 100%. Like, you know, and again, like, isn't it one of those things it's obvious to say.
Right.
You can know it intellectually, but it's hard to do here. How can you love when you don't love yourself first? You know, because we do have a tendency in, you know, or maybe I don't want to say like but like I think that there is a tendency in relationships to defer.
Yeah.
And to be in a relationship, you need to compromise. You know, any one of them, whether it is whether it's a romantic relationship or a work one.
Yeah.
You need to be able to compromise and, you know, to be compatible and work with someone. But like, ready? If you are not honest with yourself first, if you like, you can't bring anything to that relationship. You need to be able to know your limitations, what you can and cannot do, what you like and what you don't like, you know? You can learn those things as you go, but don't be afraid to say it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I agree with that.
yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that concludes the Win podcast, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to do this, being honest and sharing stories from your life. It's been a pleasure actually getting to know you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, man.
And you know, just having to sit down, not knowing this much about you, and now knowing so much. So, is there? I don't know if you want to keep in contact with anyone, but is there any like a website that you have that people, or do you? Okay, great. Because no, sometimes people have an Instagram and Facebook that they. That's what I'm like. Because if not,
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
So, man, Ben,
I kind of eschew all the social media stuff. Frankly, just because it's like I see everybody just like so locked up in it, like people have forgotten how to speak to each other.
Absolutely.
And I'm like,
So, thank you everybody for checking out the Win podcast, and thank you, Ben, for
it was
sharing.
a pleasure.
Once again, thank you everybody for checking out another episode of the Win Podcast. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, Instagram at the Win Podcast. And any information you want to check out, just look at the description box and all the information is there. So thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed another episode. Peace.